I doing with my life? And it's at that point when I start to feel those things where I'm like, you know what? I think it's time to actually get away and take care of some wellness to fill my own cup. Hey ladies, I'm taking you on my 3-day wellness retreat here at the Salamander Resort. So for anyone that doesn't know about the Salamander, it is in Middleburg, Virginia, which is just right outside of DC. Sheila Johnson is the founder and CEO of it. Amazing, amazing resort. That's only part of the point of this video. I mean, finding a great place to get away to is always a key element in terms of, if you need to get some respite. There was here recently, I went to a conference that mentioned how respite or reflection, care, self-care, as we generally know it as, that it creates clarity. And for the longest time, I've been needing to just get away, mainly because it has been a while. And I realize within myself that when I do not take time away, that I find myself sometimes spiraling. I don't know how many of you guys kind of feel the same thing, where it's as if like I cannot get a handle on all that's going on. And so I just kind of go into this cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs spiral of like, what am I doing with my life? And it's at that point when I start to feel those things where I'm like, you know what? I think it's time to actually get away and take care of some wellness to fill my own cup. So the last 3 days, that's what I've done. Took a trip, little girl's trip, and then extended the time so that way I could actually spend some time with myself and watering and filling my own cup. So I hope as you go through today's video on some of the reasons why it's important to get time away, as well as some reflection questions that I've kind of taken a look at and gotten into over the course of this time. I hope it helps. So now keep in mind, this wasn't just necessarily like a getaway to do a girls trip. The wellness element of it was a huge portion of it. So I really thought of this time as kind of like a sacred pause, like an intentional time to get rooted and to recalibrate into the things that I want to see moving forward. We're right now, this is March 2025. We're at the end of quarter 1. Now, for anybody that's into planning, I'm very much so about like quarterly planning. There's a book by Brian Moran that's called The 12-Week Year. And it's basically using a 12-week principle or model to be able to plan versus doing annual planning goals. Because anybody that does annual planning goals, we already know, actually research shows us that by February, like 80% of any plans that we had at the beginning of the year, we ghost those things. And they essentially like, flitter away and whatnot. So this is a time for me to look at what have been my quarterly accomplishment and then to look ahead at the next quarter. So again, it's an intentional kind of sacred pause to get rooted, recalibrate, and really reflect on what I want to see happen moving forward. Now, over the years, I've kind of used a particular process to take myself through. I'm a Virgo, so yes, I'm going to have a process in which I do things. And so this is no different. So below, you're going to see in the description a free guide that I've made that is actually based upon the process that I follow and the reflection questions that I generally try to go through during any sort of wellness, self-retreat, personal retreat time. So whether you're thinking about doing your own little reset and retreat, this guide and the journey that I'm going to take you through is hopefully going to be for you too. Usually day 1 of my like wellness retreats or personal retreats away are really the times to check in. And the check-in is actually really a mental, physical, spiritual check-in. So it's starting the process of slowing down. And honestly, that usually happens even prior to me getting to wherever it is that I'm going. So I would encourage you, as you think about maybe some of the steps that you go through or that you want to go through with regards to like ushering in a wellness retreat, is think about the check-ins that you need to do with self. Do the mental check-in of how am I feeling? What are my thoughts? Where's my head at? Is there a lot of stress that's going on? Check in with body. How's my body feeling? Now, in full disclosure, on my way here, I literally tripped and fell prior to getting in my car and actually driving here. And so physically, my body was like, bitch, what are we doing? We need a retreat. So being as though that like I had this physical thing that happened right prior to coming, it was good that while I knew that in this trip I was going to be doing some like spa type activities, i.e. a facial, a massage, after all that, I definitely needed it. So check in with body, see how body is doing. Those of us that are in our 40s and up, like, girl, check the light, as in check your joints, check your body, how your muscles feeling. All of those things are equally important. And then from a spiritual perspective, depending on whatever your faith background is check in spiritually. So, God, the universe, whatever it is that you subscribe to, just check in from that perspective in terms of, what's your intuition, what's your gut telling you, and then set intentions for what you want this time to be. So that's one of the things that I definitely do, is that before I come into a trip, I already have kind of like, I don't want to say goals, because that sounds real like cut and dry, but like there's intentions that I set that I want to have happen during the course of this time. So I knew one of the things I want to have happen was, one, to take care of body, i.e. that's why the spa treatments were set up in a way to where I was going to have a full day, as well as maybe some other days, to where I could enjoy the spa facilities here, but then also, again, get into a full-scale relaxation through some spa treatments. And that helps to reset my mind, it resets my body. And then even though this was a girls' trip, and I had, a good girlfriend of mine that was, here the first 2 days, I specifically decided to extend my time so that way I would actually have time alone. Now, I'm very much so an extrovert, but at the same time, I know when I need to recalibrate, I need to get by myself. And so as much as I love my friends and they're energizing to me, what is even more energizing, especially if I'm in a season where it's like, oh my gosh, it feels like things are maybe out of control or, and that sounds really dramatic, but if it's in a place where it's just like, I just need to get regrounded, then I need to get by myself. So that becomes part of the process. So do whatever your check-in, but then also set some intentions for what you want this time to be. To kind of help usher you in, some journal prompts that I've used over the years that have helped me just kind of get into the headspace with respects to like what I want to have happen during this time, or if I want to do some journaling, what are some things that I can actually journal about or reflect on. So three different prompts that I want you to consider and maybe use as part of your writing time. So the first one is, what brought me joy this year? So right now we're in the first quarter of 2025. So thinking about what has brought you joy so far. Now there's a lot of things that have been going on in these last 3 months that I feel like I haven't used the word unprecedented as much as I have used during this time frame. But even with that, I'm still looking for the windows of opportunity. I'm looking for the points of joy to call out and write about. So someone that I follow on social media had posted something about like creating a note in your notes app with the prompt that says, good things are always happening to me. Now I added a little bit of razzle dazzle to it. So what I added to mine was, good things and blessings are always happening to me. And using that as a prompt to write down all the good things, whether big, small, indifferent, of the good things or blessings that are happening your way. I have a good friend of mine that I went to college with. Actually, she was my old college roommate, that she would say how God would send her winks. And they would be, whatever it's the blessing or the good thing that would happen, during the day, that would almost be like, Lord winking at you, like, I got you, I see you, here you go, I'm gonna give you a little bit of this. And those things can usher you into thinking about the joy that you are having, have experienced. And so even in light of maybe a lot of the crazy that's going on in the world right now, that we can still find the joy even in the little things that are happening. All right, so prompt 2 is, what challenges help me grow? So thinking about what are some of those challenges that have helped you to grow. So as we looked at so far in this year, even if you look back to last year, what are the joys that have transpired? But then what have been some of the challenges that have actually helped you to grow? So as I've thought over really particularly the last 3 months, some of the challenges that have come up, whether they've been family related, work, business related, in a lot of cases it's been business related because the work that I do is a lot in the federal government space. So fortunately or unfortunately, this is the nature of the beast. And contracts have shifted and changed in a way to where, now it's having me to rethink my business strategy. And so that has been a challenge. But with every challenge, to me, I'm of the mindset that two things could be equally true, is that you could have a whole lot of challenges and things that are going on, while on the flip side of things, because there's a yin and yang in the world, it's kind of like, as much as there's positive, yes, there can be negative, but on the flip side is that even though there might be challenges, there's also going to be blessings and good things on the other side of it. It's just a matter of fixating my mind on the areas that are going to be like looking at all good things are happening, all blessings are happening to me, or, so it's going at it with a different sort of mindset. So that starts here. So thinking about the challenges, but what are those challenges that have helped you to grow? Because there's some good nuggets, some good seeds in those things that are going to hopefully take you onto a place of clarity around one perspective of how you see where you are and where you may be going. Prompt number 3 is that what am I ready to release? This is a big one because I think a lot of times, especially when it's in times of challenge or that we're feeling like stuff is out of control, that like we hold on so tight to whatever the thing is. But in order for us to grow, we need to like release. And I remember one of my godmothers had said, like, open your hand, like just release your hand because you're trying to hold tight so much, whatever that thing is, you're choking it. And we need to release it to allow for God, the universe, to do what it is that they're going to do with it. And it's in that release that honestly provides us freedom, that I don't have to have everything figured out. And that to me is like, it is very freeing, even though at the same time being, again, a little bit of a control freak, to a degree, it's helped me to release that control because I don't need to have all the answers. That is the beauty of it. That is the freedom in it, is that I can find answers in other spaces and places and people that are outside and or beyond me, which is a relief, frankly. So I encourage you. All right, those 3 questions, take some time, journal them, reflect on them, and see how they resonate with you as part of your own wellness journey. Now, one thing that I did as I ended my day, because I think starting your day, continuing a day, but particularly ending your day is just as important as like the start of your day. So part of the end of my day was I knew that, one of the intentions that I set during this time was I wanted to make sure that like every night for dinner that I was getting dressed up, feeling good, looking good, and all those things. Because I feel like sometimes like we forget that whatever we look like on our day-to-day, regardless of whatever that is, I know a lot of times on my day-to-day, because I'm usually working from home, unless I've got to go out for meetings or trainings or X, Y, and Z. I'm at home. And what that means is that I'm kind of looking like what you see right here, is that I might have like a sweater on, definitely some leggings. Leggings are going to be standard. So when I'm able to like get out and about and do some things that are a little bit different than my norm, then in this case, I wanted to end my day with like a really nice dinner. And so with my girlfriend being here, I told her, I was like, girl, plan some dress up outfits. And she was looking at me like, so define dress up. I was like, I don't care. You define it for whatever it means to you. But for me, what it's going to mean, I was like, okay, I don't wear dresses that often. And I had bought these 2 sweater dresses from this shop that I really love. And so I was like, I'm busting these 2 out since it is still kind of like the end of winter, even though technically I guess it's spring now. But I was like, okay, it's cool where I'm at. Like it's chilly. So it's just the perfect temperature to bust these, these sweater dresses out, which I did. So as you can see, I was like, I was not playing no games. I figured, we're going to go ahead and eat all the way, leave no crumbs, as the kids say. So just ending your day in a way that feels good to you, from sometimes just like what makes you feel beautiful, internally, externally, all of those things. So for me, that's what it looked like. So my kind of like end of day sort of ritual was that I want to do a fancy, or like it didn't have to be a fancy dinner, but it was a dress up situation. So that way then I could look and feel my best in a way that I don't typically do, just because of the nature of my work. So figure out whatever your end of day ritual is and institute that, but make sure that it's like connecting to, reviving you mentally, physically, spiritually, because, that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to fill up our cup in a different way than we normally do. So becoming that next version of yourself really is worth honoring. For me, that required to get away from the familiar and into an environment that ultimately was going to heal me, recharge me, and then help me to get some perspective. So these last 3 days really have allowed for me to walk away feeling lighter, just clearer of mind and more aligned. And as women, this is something that we all deserve. So give yourself that gift. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.